representatives from the film team here. You guys want to come up? So I want to start very simply and just talk about kind of the genesis of the project. Like, obviously, putting a true story together has its own challenges, but I'm curious where the journey of this film started.
Wow. So about 10 years ago, while Stan was still alive, we talked about making this a reality. And a good friend of mine who's here tonight, John Spencer, we sat down and had lunch, and I told him my story, and he's like, we got to write this thing. And so we spent the next year or so writing. And Stan was there with us, and really got involved and was really behind getting the story out.
And then, can you, each of you kind of talk about how you got involved in the project?
I came on board when they'd written a script, and then there were two New Zealand producers who came on who did a script, and through a circuitous way, I ended up with a script, and so it was, as you can tell, very moving, and I said yes, I wanted to do it. And they asked me to do a rewrite. And so when I work on scripts, especially something I've written, I give it to my brothers because they're actors.
Right.
And also I wasn't sneaky because I thought it would be a good part for Jared.
It's a great part for Jared.
Yeah. So he responded, and we kind of worked on a draft of the script together. And then when that was finished, I got him to commit to playing the part. And that was kind of when we could move forward, and then Nicholas, who then we went out and we got Nicholas to come on board to play Nate, and then COVID happened, and it's a testament to both of them that they stayed with this project for 2 years till Derek came on.
Yeah, and then I joined in. I've known Nate for about five to 10 years as well, not super well until this film, and I knew Stan. And I went to Garden Spot High School and met my wife there, and it was just like it all kind of made sense. I knew a lot of people in the community to get funding somewhere in this room that invested in this film. Thank you. And so it all just kind of came together relatively quickly about 2.5 years ago, even though there was such a foundation here for about almost 10 years of work before I came on board.
Right. When taking from a real story, I can imagine there's some challenges of, are there things you don't want to depict, are there things you want to shy away from, are there things that you have to kind of streamline to put the project together? Can you talk about some of those, and if there's something you feel like you wish had been left in, or you wanted to make sure got in?
It's really hard to put yourself out there for the world to see. How many people want to do that? I didn't for a long time. But I think our first script was very, very long. And Damian had to go through and throw a lot of stuff out.
I called it a Dickens novel.
But it wasn't important to the story of Stan and I. It was a lot of other stuff that happened in my life that wasn't really important to this story. It meant a lot to me, but it was okay to not be in there, so I don't miss anything. I love what Damian finished with, and we were able to put together as a team. I think that's the most important thing, is working as a team and agreeing on things, and sometimes not agreeing, but man, I couldn't be more proud of this film than I am tonight.
One thing that Nate always said, and Damian too, is that they wanted to tell the truth about Nate's story. He wanted to tell the truth, even the dark side kind of as I say, open up your underwear drawer a little bit and let everybody in to tell us what happened. But that means that like that F-word scene that actually happened in real life that completely changed the trajectory of Nate's life. That means that obviously his troubled past and the things that happened to his parents, like, you know, we had to make these decisions of what to keep in and what to not, and there was never a question that Nate was like, we gotta tell this whole story, and Damian came on board and was like, yes, we do. And so that took a lot of courage by Nate, and it took a lot of courage by everybody involved, because it's not easily digestible, and then for Damian to have to block it out, to write that and figure out how to put it on screen is not an easy task for sure. So yeah, it took definitely a team effort. And real quick, before I forget, if you have to leave early, please vote for an Audience Choice Award, because in the independent film world, we live and die by that award, so please vote for us. Little plug. Thank you.
Always the producer.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I was curious if you had issues directing your brother.
Actually, this wasn't the first time I've directed it.
Yeah.
My very first movie was called The Rachel Papers, and it was the very first actor I had to direct was Jared. and it was basically a walk and talk scene, and I gave him so many props and bits of business to do that at the end he just said, he calls me Double D. He says, Double D, I got it. I can do the scene. I can act. And so I felt very confident then. And the great thing about working with Jared too is because this movie was a long script. There were a lot of locations. There were a lot of we were having to cram a lot into a very tight schedule. And both Nate and Nicholas and Jared were really helpful in terms of like saying, if we stand here, you know, will this be the quickest way for you to like the scene and shoot it? Rather than, you know, sometimes normally you could spend a lot more time working on something. You could have shot this in double the schedule, but they were both really mindful of the challenge that we were all facing in terms of production.
Yeah, my favorite story with Jared on set was Stan loved Achenbach long johns, right? So if you know Mike's Japan, right? They were so good. Jared hated them. he thought it was way too much sugar. So we were on that set where he has to eat that donut, and he could have called cut many times, and then we said, no, let him eat that whole donut. But he did do it in one take, I believe.
When he said, I'm only doing one take.
We made, you know, him eat donuts and then Nick eat chocolate. So a lot of sugar on set.
It was a tough film for Nicholas as well. I mean, I can speak slightly on his behalf, but I mean, having the real Nate there on set took a lot of trust from Nicholas, and to be comfortable with him there, and for them to then have a rapport and be able to work together.
Were there ever any awkward moments with that? Were there any moments where you were like, maybe this or?
No, not for me anyway, hopefully not for Nick. I totally trusted Nick, and I trusted Damian with it. If Damian asked me a question, or Nick asked me, but very, very rarely did that have to happen. I mean, it's so hard to believe that both Jared and Nick were able to capture it so real. There were moments off set where they were interacting with each other, and I was like, that's how Steve and I interacted all the time. It was great.
Great. I'm going to open it up to the audience. Does anybody have any questions? Let's start with you.
Yeah, first of all, magnificent film. I guess, did you have any help? Were you able to work with any of the real characters that were in the film?
So,
to help you?
So the question is, were you able to work with any of the real characters outside of you that were in the film?
That was for you, that question.
Yeah, I think it was just me and Stan were the only, we had to kind of make up names and other things. Like, you know, we did talk to everybody that was involved, the girlfriends and the different people. But yeah.
And like some of the set characters, like Garden Spot High School, that was actually where it was shot. We used, you know, the hallways that Nate and Stan walked down. It was amazing that they let us in the middle of COVID craziness. The superintendent took a big risk, and then he retired 3 months later. I think he did it on purpose. He's like, what the heck do I have to lose? I'm leaving here in 3 months. But and then some of the locations, a lot of the locations were like really it happened, but in terms of like the actual characters, yeah.
The photography was beautiful, and I felt it added an aspect to the film itself. It created just an all-around image that worked with the film as well. The direction seemed very natural, like everyone was into what they were doing. It seemed so spontaneous. And of course, you had the most versatile actor of our time, Derek Harris.
One comment. His first movie was Home Alone, so I think he did okay in his career after that. But he kind of envisioned this to be a classic film, and his whole approach was exactly what you see on screen, and it was like timeless and 80s and beautiful. He did a great job.
Anybody else right up there? Yeah.
Hi, so we actually both had the pleasure of working on the film for about a month as background students. And so first off, very appreciative of bringing this to Pennsylvania, especially in a time like COVID when there was almost nothing. So first off, appreciate y'all for that. My question is, when it came to casting, since it's such a personal project, obviously, like were you able to work close with casting in order to find the perfect you?
So,
Or like, what was any hang-ups with that or anything particular you're looking for?
just for anybody that didn't hear in the room, the question was, were you able to work closely with casting to find something that was very personal to you?
I know, as I said, I picked Jared because I knew he couldn't say no to me. So that was my...
That's personal to you.
What?
That's personal to you.
Yes, yeah. And Nicholas read the script and we met and he just said, I've got to play this part. He just really identified with the role. And when somebody says that, I've seen his earlier work, and you go, that kind of commitment and passion. It's a really difficult role. It's really a difficult role to play. Because he's the journey of the movie. I mean, the point of view of the film that connects with all of you is really Nate's point of view. And so that was his responsibility.
Were you involved in casting at all?
No, I let him take care of it. That was really important to me to make sure I didn't interfere, because the worst thing you can do is stand in and tell people that are really good at what they do to do something different. And then it's your fault when it's bad. But you have to give them credit when it's really good too, so I give it all to him.
Did I imagine it, or did I see as the screen was rolling, it said the characters are all fictitious? Is that?
That's for legal purposes.
Just for the rest of the room. So the question was, there might be a block at the end that says the characters are all fictitious.
That's just kind of legalities, because there was, it's based on the life of Nate and Stan, but all the other characters are made up to fill the gaps and things. There are some truths, of course, but yeah, there's creative liberties there.
Right here?
Nate, did you and Stan remain close friends up to the end of his life?
So the question was, did you and Stan remain close friends up to the end of his life?
Absolutely. Stan was the father I never had, really. And I was the son he never really needed. That's the best way to say it. Really, I mean, we worked together in theater for 30-some years till he passed away. And sadly, the day before, or the day after he passed away, he was supposed to move in with my wife and I, so he could retire and not have to worry about anything ever again. But,
Was the one scene where you were with him and you each had a boutonniere on, did that happen to be your wedding?
So the question was, the scene where you're both wearing boutonnieres, did that happen to be your wedding?
yes. Yep.
Right here?
The host parent cameo was awesome, and I'm not sure that people caught it, and I'm not sure if it was supposed to be a surprise. Can you speak to that? And if that was the plan all from the beginning?
The question was about the host parent cameo.
No, it got to the kind of last day, second last day, and I realized he hadn't been in the movie. So all we had left, there was like a police station or something, or the orphanage, and then suddenly, I'm not the quickest person in the world, but the light bulb went off and I went, oh yeah, he should be playing in the orphanage, and he should be playing one of the counselors there. So we put him into a terrible jumper, and then made him go in.
It's a bat suit.
And then he was a natural, by the way. He was a complete natural.
Yeah, I found out that morning, we'd already shot most of the day, and he's like, you need to go down and get in the trailer, or there's something younger for you, and you're gonna play that role.
Are you planning on doing more acting?
I am not planning on doing more acting. No.
Right here.
Yeah, for those of us that know Stan, did the egregious fuck scene really happen? Or was that creative license?
So the question was, did the egregious fuck scene really happen?
Absolutely, and it's almost unreal how real it is. It's a scene that I thought for a long time it was in the script, it's out of the script, it's in the script. I wasn't sure like how are people gonna respond to it, but then we got to the point where it's like, no, it's gotta be there. We gotta tell the real, true, gritty scene. And it was the first time I realized that this man actually cared for me, for him to use a swear word in that way and overdo it, of course, as he always does, right? He didn't share that with many people, but he shared it with me that day. But it showed me that he really truly cared. And what I love most about that scene is after that, he said, hey, let's really talk. And I bet you we talked 3 or 4 more hours after that. And he just, talked about why I was doing drugs, why I was doing certain things that didn't make sense to him. It was amazing.
Scan in the audience. One right up there.
I just want to thank you for portraying Stan and yourself in such a marvelous way. I was one of Stan's first actresses in Garden Stop Before He was the most loving, wonderful person that everywhere we would go with Stan, everybody knew Stan. Everybody knew him, I think. And so that was so perfect. But he was invited to our house one time for dinner, and we had a son named Nate, but all he could talk about was his name. He really did love you like a son.
Oh, thank you. I had many times when he said, oh, you're that Nate. I was like, look, Stan, help me.
Like, what kind of shit is he talking about, dude?
A lot.
We have time for a couple more right there.
I just want to follow on that. I was the location manager on this film. Everywhere we went, and we needed a location. Oh, this is for Stan? Everywhere we went in Lancaster, York, and all the surrounding counties. It was just, this is that? Please, come to our house. It was, the only other thing that comes close is when we used to film It's Always Sunny here, and Rob McElhenney knew everybody in South Carolina. It was this unbelievable open welcome arms to what this man has done in that community. Everybody.
Everybody loves Stan. I did have one other question. I lived in New Holland. I don't know what creek was deep enough for you to go and try to drown yourself.
So yeah, the question is, what creek was deep enough in New Holland?
Well, it actually didn't happen in New Holland. I walked quite a ways that night. So I won't go into those details, but I was preserved that night because it was a very shallow creek that was pretty high, and there happened to be a nice swell for me to hit. And if I had jumped 5 feet this way or 5 feet that way, I probably wouldn't be here. But thankfully, what I had attempted that night didn't happen. So it doesn't really matter where, just not in New Holland.
I think we have time for one more. We're gonna go down here.
Hi, I got the privilege of being on set for one day with y'all, and I can't remember who it was that said this. I was maybe it was getting makeup done, or maybe on my way to set. Someone that had been working on it for the entire time. I was just talking to me about what it was like to be on set. I said, "How's this set? How's it been?" And they teared up and said that Stan was there. And I just wanted to tell y'all that and ask if you also felt it there.
The question was about another crew member mentioning that it felt like Stan was there on set, and did you feel his presence there on set?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I felt Stan the whole way through this thing, and I still feel him today. I did this for him because his story needs to be told. And can we all be like him, right? If we can all just share a little bit more, give a little bit more, help someone in need, that's what it's all about. And if I had a Hershey bar, I'd give everyone my butter and say, go give it to someone, tell this story to somebody else that needs to hear this story. Make sure that they buy a ticket and see it when it comes out. But no, I did it for him, and I think the most I felt Stan was when we were recording the music at Warner Brothers Studio, and I was sitting in a chair, there was an empty chair beside me, and they were playing the Stan theme and then the Nate theme, and I was like, wow. I just felt like he was sitting there with me. Just go, get this thing done. Get it out there.
We have to wrap up, but speaking of which, I'm curious what the future of this project is from here.
Well, back to Stone said. I just want to repeat what Derek said. Regional festivals are really important for independent movies, and what you can actually play a part in how films like ours can go forward. So, I mean, winning an audience award is a big deal in showing distributors that there's a value, a currency value to a film like ours. Or if you have a distribution deal that shows them that there's a value still and they should put money into releasing it. So it really does, it really does matter, and it impacts our movie.
So we're currently in the sales process for a distributor, working through regional festivals to kind of grow the audience, and like Damian calls us, this movie and this team is the little engine that could, it's got a really great energy, we're going, and everybody's responded the last couple months here, and so we're excited about the journey.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing it with us and being here today.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
And thank you all for being here.
Thank you
Please
for coming.
don't forget to
Thank you.